Hey, Brian.
Hey, Mike.
Hey.
How's it going?
Hey, home buyers out there.
Home buyers.
Home buyers. This is kind of cool.
This is kind of cool.
We're gonna try out this format. Pretty informal, but we want to teach you guys some stuff about home buying.
What it takes to purchase your home, first home, second home. Well, we're going to go over the home buying process today.
You know what's really cool is we've done this a few times before.
Couple times.
Couple times. Thousands of times. Hundreds.
Maybe you thousands. You've been in the industry a little bit longer, but
I don't know if it's been thousands, but cumulatively on our team, maybe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All the training. So
I'm pretty excited. We have copies of our home buyer's guide. Hey, you got one too.
I got one.
Check that out. Yeah.
Look at that.
When we meet with a client, we do a consultation with them. They always go home with one of these. We have digital copies as well. A lot of good stuff in here.
A lot of good stuff. We're just going to dive right in.
Have you read this?
I have a couple times.
Okay. Thousands?
Maybe hundreds. Maybe hundreds.
Very cool. So the market is changing a little bit.
A lot of it.
Yeah, people are scared. Is this a scary time to buy a home?
Absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely not.
It's not. Interest rates are still really low. The benefit to buying a home right now is inventory's kind of coming up a little bit. Not to a point where it's making it a extreme buyer's market, but we actually have some selection. And you have more than an hour to make a decision. So it's kind of a cool stabilization of the market, so to speak, right?
I couldn't agree with you more. Days on market peaking up, so it's good for buyers right now. It's changing definitely for the buyers' favor.
So overall, really good time to make a purchase, especially if you're renting. So I know I did a video with Greg Gale a little while ago about the cost of waiting when you're renting. Did you watch that 1,000 times?
I watched it a couple times.
Couple times, okay, fair enough. I'll post the links for it if you guys are interested in checking that out. But anyway, let's get right into it.
Yeah, we'll dive right in. So
all right, this page right here, and I'm gonna put it on the screen right here. It might be my favorite page, right? Does it really matter who you work with?
I'd have to say yes. Absolutely.
And all bias aside, right? We want to work with you because that's our business. But like really, when it comes down to it, all bias aside, it matters who you work with.
It does matter. Just far as overall knowledge of the market is kind of the key here. And then, there's a lot of other aspects of the home buying process that we'll go over further once we get down the line.
Yeah, the average agent here in SLO County closes 3 deals a year. Three. Now that sounds really cool, like they're closing 3 deals a year, but over the course of a year, the market changes, mortgages change, all that stuff, and you really don't have the opportunity to learn from the trenches, right?
Absolutely.
When you've been doing deals in the past, you've learned more from single transactions than any training that we've provided you. Maybe that's not totally true, but like that's how you learn stuff, is by selling more homes. So when an agent sells a lot of homes, that's not really a bragging thing.
No, absolutely.
Maybe some agents take it that way. I've sold 67 homes this year. I'm number one. All that good stuff. That's great, but that agent probably has some experiences. They've probably been down a path that you may not know about, and they can teach you a few things and avoid some pitfalls.
Absolutely.
Right? So experience does matter. And that's why, first page in here. It says right here, experience in pricing, experience in negotiating, experience in getting that sale to close. Finding the home is only a small piece of the puzzle.
I agree. Right? I would agree.
Having that, my favorite real estate word, fiduciary relationship with you guys as a client, where we represent you from the beginning to the end, is really very, very important.
And when we say fiduciary, that means what's in your best interest. So.
Oh, you mean not my best interest?
No, absolutely not.
Oh, not the title company's best interest or the lender's best interest?
Absolutely not. It's whatever's best for you. For you.
What your best interest is. Anyway, but I wanted to touch base on the 10 Commandments. I know you like the 10 Commandments.
Absolutely, I like the 10
The
Commandments.
10 Commandments of purchasing real estate. What's number 1?
Thou shalt not change jobs or self-employment.
You would think that this, we wouldn't need to put this in here, but I've had people quit their job the week before escrow closed. And what happens? The lender does the verification of employment right then, and no, he doesn't work here anymore. She, he, she, whoever. That's bad. So, commandment number 1, don't quit your job. Okay? You quit after closing, whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
not during the process.
Not during the process.
Honestly, I think number 2 should be number 1 on this, but
this one's big too.
This one's really big. What I find out a lot of times is we get into escrow, and what it says here, it says, thou shalt not buy a car, furniture, any big purchase on a credit card. You may not think that it would matter, but it does, because it'll affect your credit, especially when you're buying a car. You have to put on credit unless you're buying all cash. Then that's a little bit different story.
Even then, don't buy a car with cash because you may have needed that cash for reserves or something. Avoid any kind of car, automobile, truck purchase at all. Okay.
Until we close.
Until we close. If you want a Ferrari, go out and buy a Ferrari after closing. Okay, so I did have a story where on the final walkthrough, my client says, "Hey, check this out," and we open up the garage door and there's a brand new Tesla in the driveway.
How did that
Scary
work out?
moment. It was 2 or 3 days before closing. Scary. And if you're watching this, you know who you are, and you scared the snot out of me. That was, but it worked out. Luckily, it closed, but it was scary.
Absolutely.
Okay, so number 3, don't charge up your credit cards. I mean, almost don't even use your credit cards. Don't change anything with credit at all.
I agree.
Right?
I can't agree and stress that anymore, because I just had a deal that happened that way recently where we're in escrow. Hey, guess what I did? I opened up your credit card so I can buy all the furniture. Oh, that's nice.
That changes your credit.
Changes it. Luckily, it all works out, but
and make your payments, right? Make
scary.
your minimum, at least your minimum. Okay, number 4.
Thou shalt not spend money you have set aside for closing costs.
Yeah, that's
always a good one.
Why do these seem like no-brainers? So, what are closing costs?
There's a variation of items that needs to be done for closing.
So you can have your escrow fees.
You can have your deposit, your down payment.
You're going to have your appraisal fee. You're going to have inspection
fee.
You're going to have lender charges. All sorts of things. So when we say closing costs, those are all kind of wrapped into that blanket statement. Okay? And just so you know, I've been really successful, and I know you've been really successful at having the sellers pick up some of those charges.
Absolutely.
That's pretty
Absolutely.
cool. So when we go down to write an offer, we're going to talk about that. Okay? So, number 5. Don't lie on your application. Don't omit liabilities or accounts that you may have.
And that's what I find out a lot of the times too. During the home buying process, I mean, it's always the best case scenario and best thing to do is just be honest on your application. Eventually, they're going to find it anyway. They're going to find it out. So there's no really reason to lie on the application, go through all the process to find out later on, hey, guess what? I can't verify your job or how much you make, so we can't approve you. So best thing to do, just don't lie.
Don't lie. They're going to find out.
Absolutely.
You can't hide from stuff. Yeah.
Number 6, it kind of goes back to the number 2 there. It says don't
buying stuff.
Buy furniture.
Don't buy furniture. And by furniture, that could be couches, beds, whatever. Could be appliances. Yeah. We see people, I'm in escrow on a house. I went through Home Depot, and they offered me 10% off if I open up a Home Depot card, and I can get all the fancy new appliances. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Do that after closing.
Absolutely.
After closing. Don't buy furniture. Don't buy appliances. Don't open up a Home Depot card. Or Lowe's.
Lowe's, yeah.
Lowe's. Okay.
Or Miners, or any.
Does Miners have a card?
I would imagine so. I would imagine so.
All right, number 7, don't originate more inquiries on your credit, right? Don't have everybody and their mothers start to pull credit on you. We find that when you're shopping for a loan, right? If you try to change loans and 3 weeks in, you get a new inquiry, could damage your credit.
Yeah, they look at everything. They look at everything. So number 8, don't make large deposits in your bank account.
Really, you would think making a large deposit into your account would be a good thing, but what happens?
Well, they have to verify that as well.
Verify it.
So
where did that loan? Where did that come from? Well, I had it in a shoebox under my bed. I've been saving it, so I deposit. No.
No.
All money has to be accounted for. I don't know if this is a terrorist prevention thing, but don't make large deposits, especially ones you can't show where it came from. Okay?
Absolutely.
If you get a loan from your cousin or your parents or your grandma and grandpa, that could mess things up.
Could mess things up. And there's other ways around it too if you're trying to make a large deposit. And, it's something we can get into a little bit later.
But discuss that with your lender.
Always discuss it with your lender if you're going to go through that.
Okay, number 9, thou shalt not change bank accounts.
That's pretty self-explanatory.
Pretty self-explanatory. If you got a new bank account, the lender's going to want to see where all that's coming from, and it just makes it a hassle. So don't change bank accounts. And number 10, here's a big one.
Number 10. 10's fun. Don't co-sign for anyone.
Yeah.
Thou shalt not co-sign for anyone.
Because what co-signing means is you're taking on that liability and you're responsible for it.
Mm-hmm.
So whoever you're co-signing for doesn't make that payment, now it's your responsibility. They're going to factor that into your home qualification. So those were the 10 commandments.
Yeah, sounds easy.
Believe it or not, people break these all the time and they don't get their house.
Yeah, okay. It happens. And like we said, it sounds easy. But during the moments when you're in escrow, it's exciting. It's an exciting time. Exciting time when you're going to buy.
So I've actually had clients cut this out and put it on their mirror or put it on their fridge.
That's extreme.
It's extreme, and they've also done this page, but it's really important. Okay. So let's break down the 9 steps in the home buying process.
Sure.
That might be good, right? What to expect during the home buying process?
Well, tell you, number 1, that one's a no-brainer.
You would think, but most real estate agents and ultimately their clients skip step 1.
And that's establishing a relationship with the real estate agent.
Why would we want to do that? You mean so I call you up and you go show me a house that I found on the internet? Is that what you mean?
No, not at all.
Absolutely not.
And when we say establishing a relationship, it's actually how we do it. We take more of the consultative approach and we sit down and find out what your needs and wants and your goals are in the home buying process.
So we take a few extra minutes to find out what the client's real estate goals are.
100%, absolutely.
And show them how we get to those.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, like we said, we go back to fiduciary duties. It's about what you want as the client.
Amazing. And I found that it's really hard to do that when you're looking at a house.
Yep, absolutely.
Looking at a house. So another part to that would be to get pre-qualified with a lender. Have the conversation. Show them your income, your debts, all that good stuff, so that you have a price range in mind.
Absolutely.
Right? It really sucks to be looking at homes out of your price range and not know it, and then when you get your new price range, sometimes you're so mentally defeated that you just give up on the whole process.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So very, 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 very important.
Very important. So step number 2, searching for the perfect home. That one's the fun one. I like that
what's
one.
really cool is we can do that on our website.
Yep, absolutely. We can do it on our website.
You search any home in the MLS. You can search our pocket listings. You can search open houses. And it's a direct portal right to the MLS.
And the great thing about it, too, is you have full control over the website. You can always, you can adjust it to however you want.
What's funny is, I hear this all the time. Well, I found this home on Zillow.
Yep.
What happens when you click a button on Zillow?
Well, it tries to get you to solicit all your information.
Yeah, and then how many real estate agents are calling you over the next couple of days?
Oh, not just them, but lenders too.
No less than 20.
Yeah.
Zillow just sold you out. And now you have to block number after number after number.
Well, the great thing about it on our website, we don't do that.
No. We will never sell your information.
I would never sell your information.
Is that a cheesy pitch?
Kind of.
Okay. It works. All right.
Kind of.
Yeah. So when you are on the website and you found a home you like, you can favorite it, whatever, but there's a really cool button where you click to schedule a showing. It's that easy.
It's that easy.
It's that easy. And then we make a schedule showing. Now, a lot of homes are vacant, and those are really easy to get into. Sometimes they have homeowners, so we need to make an appointment because they're living in the home. But the major one is the tenants.
Tenants are always tough.
The tenants need at least 24-hour notice. And that information probably isn't going to be apparent on the listing. So keep that in mind when you're just scheduling showings. Some of them may need to be the next day.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so what happens now on step 3 when we find the home that we want to buy?
Now's the writing, negotiating the offers.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, do you just put a price in there, or how do we figure out what we're going to offer on the house?
Well, we take a little bit of further steps than just putting in a number.
Yeah, they know I know the answer, and I'm baiting you. Huh?
Why are you baiting me?
I don't know, because you know what you're doing. I think
Absolutely.
It's cool.
I think.
But I do know the answer. Yeah, like you said, we don't just stick a number in there, right?
No. We actually we find out what the market is doing on that particular property, as in we pull what we call comps, which is comparable homes that are out there as well. So
try to figure out what it's worth.
Figure out if it's overpriced or if it's a fair price, and that's going to be a direct correlation to what's out on the market and what's sold on the market recently. So that'll give us a better idea on what we think as professionals, and we can recommend what the price we should be offering.
Yeah, and another really important step is to find the motivation and the goals and the needs, all that good stuff from the homeowner, right?
Absolutely.
We have a pretty exhaustive interview question process or whatever, where we go a few levels deep with that listing agent, and we try to get some information that's going to help us in that negotiation process.
And at the end of the day, yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, we're trying to position your offer and you as a client, and position you to have the best offer out there, strongest, best, so we can have the greatest opportunity for your offer to get accepted.
I agree. And it's not about getting this. Sometimes it's not about getting the property as low as you can get, under market value. Like, there's people out there that want to pay 10 cents on the dollar for real estate, but oftentimes when you're competing with another buyer, it's about getting the property to begin with.
And some of that too is just knowing what the seller really needs. It could be a time frame, it could be terms, it could be pricing. That's something that we go in, and when we talk about going in different levels, that's part of the whole negotiating and writing the offer.
Yeah, so when you represent a seller on one of your listings, how often do you get a call like that?
Not very often.
Where the buyer's agent actually wants to know what's important to your sellers.
Not very often.
Not very often at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have found that what's important to the sellers is really important information that we can go in when we're negotiating, right?
Absolutely.
So, you submit the offer, they have a few options. They can either accept it, which is great. They can either deny it and not respond, or they can do a counteroffer. So in the counteroffer process, they're going to say, we like your offer, but we want to change a few terms.
Absolutely.
That can go back and forth a few times. Sometimes when you're dealing with out of the area people, maybe you have some lag time there. And be ready. This is one of the most stressful times of the transaction, is waiting for a response on your offer, right?
And yeah, I would 100% agree. You kind of have to just take the deep breath and let everything play itself out. And part of negotiating is knowing what the seller wants.
I agree.
And then at the end of the day, that's kind of where we go out on negotiating.
So good news. Our offer was accepted.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Awesome. We negotiated it.
Yeah. Yeah. We write better offers than we do high fives.
Absolutely.
Just so you know.
Absolutely.
Our offer was not accepted. Now our new offer is accepted.
There we go. Let's
We
go.
got it. Oh,
Yeah.
This is so.
So now that
Really?
we're offer is accepted here, it's what we call we're under contract. So
Under contract in escrow.
opening up escrow. That's when you hear the terms escrow and things start really getting the ball rolling on the process.
What is escrow? I know the answer.
I know the answer.
I want you to tell them what escrow is.
Why do you always know the answer?
I don't know.
I know the answer too.
Do you want me to do it?
Can we-
Okay, at the same time? I don't think that'll work.
No.
Escrow is the neutral third party. We have a lot of fun here. Escrow is the neutral third party that helps process the transaction. They take the money, they disperse the money, they record everything at the county, so it's legit and done. They do a lot of really cool things for us, but they don't work for you, they don't work for the seller, whatever. They are absolutely neutral. And they work really, really hard. Their job sucks. So let's remember that and know that they're doing a good job. So at this point, we're going to get the contract all together. We're going to give you copies of it. We're going to send that to escrow. We're going to send it to the lender so everybody's all on the same page. And that's going to start the clock ticking for our time frames that are put in place in the contract.
When we say time frames, we're talking more inspection time frames.
We got inspection time frames. We have loan time frames.
Appraisals.
We have disclosures, appraisals. There's a lot of time frames built in there. So we're going to keep track of all those time frames built into the contract.
And you will always be informed on what's going on at all times of the process.
Because bad things happen when we don't communicate to the other side, when we don't communicate at all, and we miss time frames.
Absolutely.
Right? I'm not about to lose anybody's deposit.
Oh, no, definitely not.
Deposit. Let's talk about the deposit.
Deposit. So a lot of times too on deposit, generally you want some skin in the game when you're offering on your offer there. So they want to know that you're a serious buyer.
I like to call it not an earnest money deposit, but an I'm serious
that
deposit.
I'm serious or
Serious
you know.
deposit. Now it's not extra money. So the bigger the deposit doesn't mean you're paying more for the house. It's more of like you're prepaying more of your down payment up front at the beginning.
Absolutely.
Makes you look more serious. Seller doesn't get any extra money. We're still going to protect it just the same, whether it's $1,000 or $10,000. But it makes you seem more serious.
And a general rule of thumb too, going in with earnest money, it's usually 1% of the sell price.
Yeah, sometimes depending on the property, it could be 3%.
Could be 3.
If it's a high dollar property, luxury property or something like that, but where you live, all those expensive things. Yeah. It's got awkward right there. Dude, I'm not cutting that out. We're live.
We're not.
Okay, so I don't know how to recover from that. Let's talk about inspections, right? So typically the inspection period in the contract, if we don't change it is 17 days. So contract is accepted, your offer is accepted. Now we have 17 days to get our inspections done. Okay, we have 17 days to review the disclosures. We're going to come back to that. And then also negotiate within that 17 days anything that we want to see have happen. So let's back up to disclosures. What are disclosures?
Disclosures are what's going on with the property,
right?
For the most part.
From the seller's words.
From the seller's point of view. So some of the things that are going to be in the disclosure is, as simple as, did you have dogs on the property?
Did you have a meth lab?
Did you have a meth lab?
Did anyone die?
We want to know that.
We want to know if there's ghosts on the property.
So we want to know from the first point of view of the seller what they know and they have knowledge of about the property before you.
Basically, they're going to tell you what stuff's broken, anything that affects the value of the property. Now, some sellers are really kind of clueless as to what they own, so it's good to know, but in my opinion, I don't think it really replaces inspections. I think you're going to learn a lot more from a home inspection than you will from a homeowner who may not be an expert in construction or doesn't know that their plumbing leaks. All sorts of things. So home inspection is really, really important.
Home inspection, I think I can't stress it enough. It's a few $100s. It'll save you thousands of dollars down the line if they do find something, versus just writing it off saying, I'll just take the property as is. No, it's kind of like we take it as an analogy of like driving a car. You don't just go on the lot, go, oh, I like that color, I'm taking it.
Yeah, but I'm going to take that car to my mechanic, and I'm going to have my mechanic tell me exactly what's wrong with that car.
Absolutely.
That's what a home inspection is.
That's what a home inspection is. So
they typically run between 2-3 hours, depending on the type of the house. Our preferred home inspector wants you there, right? He wants to show you everything, talk about all the things that he finds, and gives you the opportunity to ask questions. So really, it should be interactive. The typical home inspection costs $450, $500, depending on how big the house is, whether you want the pool, the granny unit.
yeah.
But yeah, kind of expect about $500, for that kind of cost.
And the good thing about that is you can get a little bit. I know you can get a better insight on what the home you're purchasing.
Very good.
So
yeah. So other costs are other inspections could be a pest inspection. So that's going to talk about bugs and bats and all sorts of things. Termites. I didn't want to say that word.
I know.
People
I didn't want to say
out.
that. It's not as bad as what it's out to be.
Yeah, and organisms like dry rot. Okay, so they're going to walk around with a ski pole and poke holes in the wood, make sure that there's nothing going on. They're going to look for bug poop, all sorts of stuff, and identify if there's issues. Now, in the pest report, there's going to be Section 1 items and Section 2 items. Section 1 items are the things that are actually wrong now. Okay? That's all the conditions that are active. Section 2 items, which may or may not be important, are conditions that could lead to a Section 1 item. Like a common one is a loose toilet. Loose toilet may not be a problem, but it could be leaking.
Yes.
It could leak in the future, even though it's not leaking now. So that's kind of what you see on those. A pest inspection runs you about $100. Half the time the sellers pick that up. Okay, that's a very common seller cost. So that's something we're going to be talking about when we write the offer. Who pays for the pest inspection? Some lenders will require for the loan program that the Section 1 or Section 2 items be completed before close of escrow. So we need to be smart on where we put that in the contract, or even if we put it in the contract and let the lenders know about it. It all depends on the type of the property and your type of loan. Right? So
it's very common.
An agent who closes 3 deals in his lifetime may not know that.
Yeah, and that's kind of comes back down to the communication. We want everyone to be in the same page, same time, or else things go crazy.
So what other inspections are there?
What did we cover? We covered the home inspection.
What about a septic?
Oh, a septic.
Right.
Yeah, some properties have
a septic tank.
So a septic inspection. That's one of a lot of people don't know what goes on with this septic inspection. Well, you want to know how much it's pumping water. If the water's in there.
Yeah, what they're going to do is they're going to pump it out, inspect the tank, and then inspect the leach field to make sure everything's kind of flowing properly. Now, that cost for the septic inspection itself is not terribly expensive, between $300 and $500, depending on the provider and whatnot. But the major cost in it is if they got to dig it up. They got to dig it up.
Yeah.
So if we're out in the country, we're showing you property, we're looking for those big green discs that are the risers and the access to the septic tank, because they just pop those off, pump it, and away we go. If we don't have access to the septic tank, they got to bring a big old digger in, a backhoe, and uncover it. They're usually 4 to 5 feet under the ground, right, like a dead body.
And it's important because we don't want you to get stuck with the cost after we close.
No. So yeah. Another inspection, if you're out in the country, might be a well inspection.
Well,
right? A lot of properties locally pump their own water. And depending on what you're going to use the water for, if it's just a single family residence, or you're growing grapes, or some of that other stuff that might need water, it's going to determine what type of test.
Or just water for your house. You're out in the country, might not be hooked up for water, so
Yeah.
Wells are super important.
So typical well test is about a 4-hour pump test where they pump that water out for 4 hours. They're going to measure the volume of water that's coming out. I call that gallons per minute. You don't need a lot to run a residence because you got a big storage tank. So 2 or 3 gallons a minute might suffice depending on your needs. But they're also going to check how low that water table drops during those 4 hours and how deep that well is. So if your well's 150 feet and your water table originally starts at 100 feet, but it drops to 140 feet in 4 hours, you might have some issues.
That's a problem.
You might have some issues.
Yeah.
If it doesn't drop at all, that's good. You got good water. I don't know. All this stuff. And they're also going to tell you if you can drink it.
And that'll be all included in the inspection.
Yeah.
So that's why we can't stress enough to get these inspections done prior to closing, because
Exactly.
we can surface up any problems that might be going on with the property now before you have to assume the property.
Yeah, typical well inspection costs between $300 and $400 depending on how long, and that's obviously going to vary between vendor and a vendor, or time. I can't quote prices, but anyway. So we get all the inspections, we get all the disclosures. We're going to review those with you together. We're going to find out which of these things in there is a deal killer. Right? What are some deal killer items? The light switch doesn't work?
No.
There's a missing doorstop.
No.
No. What about if there's a stain in the carpet?
No.
No?
But it could be.
A missing cover plate. That's got to be a deal killer.
Nope.
No. What am I missing here? What's a deal killer type of item?
Let's just say maybe
a ghost.
Can we really inspect that though?
Yeah, you can get a paranormal inspection.
Can.
Yeah. I heard on the radio they have. Anyway.
But I mean, it can be as simple as not having fire alarms.
Fire alarms? The heater?
The
roof?
heater.
Big ticket items.
Maybe the roof. Roof's a huge one that comes up all the time. That could be a deal.
Because it's really hard when you're looking at a home to tell whether the roof's good or not.
Unless you're a roofer.
I'm not climbing on a roof.
Do we really know?
I'm scared of heights. I'm not climbing on a roof.
And I'm not going underneath because I'm scared of spiders. So I'm not going underneath the house.
Spiders either.
Yeah.
So let's say we have a roof that needs replacing, and it's going to cost $8,000 to fix the roof. That's kind of a big deal. That affects the value of the house because when you made the offer on the house, you kind of assumed it had a good roof, right? That's one of the major parts I expect when I'm in a house. I don't want to be rained on. That's why I bought a house and I don't live in the park. Yes. So you can now negotiate with that homeowner and say, hey, we're not buying the house unless it gets to be the roof fixed, right? So that happens within that 17 days.
And that's kind of where we go back to negotiations. So there's almost two parts of negotiating in a contract.
True.
Essentially, you got your initial negotiation on price, what we're going to offer, get the offer accepted, and then you got your inspections. You got to go back into negotiations about what you hear all the time, the repair for request. What are they going to repair? Well, the seller essentially doesn't really have to repair anything.
They don't have to repair anything.
They don't have to do anything.
That sale is as is. But you don't have to buy it.
But you don't have to buy it either. And that's part of the home inspection period where you can actually, if you want and you think it's going to be a deal breaker, you can back out and say, maybe this isn't the property for me. But on the other end, that's where we kind of jump back in and we say, hey, what's the most important for you?
Yeah.
So
we go back and we analyze what your needs, what your goals are. Maybe in some cases, there's not another home to purchase.
I see that a lot in a fast market like we're kind of in.
So it all comes down to even more importance of why that consultation to begin with is the proper first step. Okay, so let's talk about, we've got through all the inspections, we're happy with the condition of the property. We are going to do what's called a contingency removal, right? There's a few built into the contract, right? There's a inspection
period,
due diligence period. It has a couple of different names. So when you're happy with the condition of the property, you know you've gone your inspection, you've gone through your disclosures, the seller has agreed to make repairs, we're going to do what's called a contingency removal. Now, this is when you're saying, I'm happy with this and I'm moving forward with the purchase. Right? And
Yeah,
you sign a
essentially.
piece of paper saying this. So your contingency periods just don't disappear passively. You will know it, right? You will know I'm removing my inspection contingency. We're going to check with your lender and make sure your loan is fully approved before you remove your loan contingency. We're going to make sure the appraisal is done and at value before you remove your appraisal contingency. Because what happens when we remove a contingency and we cancel the contract at that point?
Well, now our earnest money is
At
subject
risk.
at risk.
It's at risk.
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
And the last thing we want to do is watch you lose money.
How many deposits have you lost?
0.
0.
I've lost
And
0.
I'm not starting with theirs.
No, absolutely
No,
not.
their deposit is sacred, and I'm not losing their deposit, and I know you're not losing their deposit. Okay?
No, not at all.
So if you guys lose a deposit, it's because you signed a contingency removal and you did something really bad, right? You bought a truck before closing, or you quit your job, or you broke one of the 10 commandments. That's how you lose a deposit.
That is how you lose your absolutely.
So we're getting to the end, right? Our loan is approved. We got all this good stuff, and I just want to talk about the lender for a second, right? Because there is also a difference working with a great realtor and a bad one. That's a big difference in working with a great loan officer and a bad loan officer, right? So most loan officers are brokers, unless you kind of go to your bank and you work within your bank. I don't really recommend that. We work, I would say, almost exclusively with brokers. But what they do is they put the package together, and at some point they have to deliver that package to the underwriter. Mm-hmm. And the underwriter is probably not someone you're going to cook with or go on an adventure with, because they are by the book and they're protecting their bank, whoever's loaning the money, and they are going to approve or deny this loan. Right? So the difference between a good lender and a horrible lender is they know how to put that package together, because they're going to lose control of it and hand that package over. And I'd rather have a package that's wrapped perfectly, the folds are creased, there's a bow on it, and it has their name on it, and all that good stuff, so that the underwriter doesn't come back and go, well, I need this, this, and this, and this.
Makes sense.
That's my analogy.
Makes sense.
Right?
Makes
because
sense.
when the underwriter kicks it back out, now the loan officer goes to you and go, I need this, this, and this, and I'm sorry I forgot it, and now your life is miserable, and I need to know if your brother's third cousin's former roommate from 1976 paid you that $5 back that you lent him in 74.
The reason why we really, we want a lender that's going to dot the I's and cross the T's. And
sounds ridiculous, huh? But that's how it goes.
Absolutely. And
that is absolutely how it goes.
Time and time again with unprofessional lenders out there that will just promise you the world and then won't deliver.
Yeah.
And then we come to find out.
Yeah, you come across situations, you're like, why wasn't this talked about 3 weeks ago?
We don't want to be stressing out towards the end of the process when we can get it all done at the beginning. And that's part of the reason why we want to use a great lender in the first place, is because we know the type of work they're going to deliver for you, and they're always going to deliver.
Keep this in mind when you're trying to get a 1/16 of a point better interest rate by Googling lenders.
I see that all the time,
I see it all the time. Bad news, bad news.
But that's a whole nother video. That's something we can go into in depth later.
Anyway, so the last week before closing is kind of stressful.
It is.
Now, the closing date that we put, we really want to hit that, and everybody wants to hit that, but I would help your stress level by considering it more of a target, because a lot of things have to happen in that week, right? The lender has to send out the closing disclosure, also called the CD. You, as a buyer, have to acknowledge that CD, right? And everything has to be to the penny on this CD. And then there's a 3-day waiting period. Thank you, all the criminal lenders from 2006. This is why the government has another step. But it's kind of an important step. But if the CD's late, your waiting period is late, you can't sign your loan docs at the escrow company until you've gone through the waiting period. So it sets up these dominoes, and if there's a delay in one, then everything else gets pushed back.
and then we got to start all the way back to square one again. So the CD, I mean, it's a very important form because it'll break down everything for you. So you'll physically be able to see what the numbers are.
Yeah. So just know that the last week is stressful while you're packing your boxes, and what my advice to you is have wiggle room on each side. Don't plan your move out and your move in date on the same day. Right? Because if we miss that day, now everybody has a problem. And that just makes it stressful, and this is supposed to be super happy.
So final walkthrough, it pretty much just we go back through the property. We make sure all the repairs got done that we negotiated. Make sure the property's how it is when we first went in, or if not better, or if not, find out. Make sure the repairs are done, and
so we want to make sure that the seller didn't trash the home.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
The seller's got some things and they haven't completed a repair, or they damaged the property, or whatever. The buyer has the right to delay closing. Now, you can't cancel the escrow, but you can give them a notice to perform, delay closing until they actually do what they're supposed to do contractually.
Absolutely. That's something that it's not very common.
No, that doesn't happen very often at all, especially with the level of communication through the whole process.
And then we got the final details, which is you get the keys.
The keys,
the best part.
So awesome. And our goal is for you to get a ladder out, climb on the roof.
That's the good part.
Yeah, and scream to the neighbors about how awesome this went. That's my favorite part.
That is my favorite
part.
Is
when you pull up to give someone keys and they're on the roof screaming how great it went and that everybody should buy a home with us. That's the goal.
That is the goal.
That's the goal.
That's the goal.
When that happens. Next time I'm going to take a picture of that.
Are you?
When it does. Yeah. So now we've kind of gone through that. Let's back up a little bit. What are some of the different types of properties that we're going to be looking at?
Well, you got your regular traditional properties that's going out.
You got a regular homeowner, and
you got to open houses. You're making a move. You got the flip properties.
The flip ones.
Those are fun.
Those are really fun. That's where someone buys a house, fixes it up, either very well or not very well, and then tries to sell that for profit.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So some of those are good. Some, it's more of a lipstick on a pig kind of thing. But a real concern is the dates. So some loan programs have problems with things flipping too fast. So you got to make sure the day they acquired the property and the day you're writing the purchase contract are within that window. So we got to communicate with your lender to make sure that works, because that ends up surprising some people too.
Yeah, it does. It does. Most of the time you're going to get all the nice aesthetics up front, but maybe the bones don't look that great. So.
I sold a flip property where there was a light in the hallway that was on. There was no switch to it.
Interesting.
Like, you could not turn the light off unless you took the dome off and unscrewed the light bulb.
That's a little
but you burn the snot out of your hand doing that. But yeah, there was no way to turn this light off. Crazy. So
that was 2 of 5. We got your bank and lender known properties.
Dude, foreclosures. We don't see a lot of those in this cycle of the market. But that's where the bank, someone stopped making payments. The bank now owns the property, and we negotiate with the bank as the seller.
And that can be a long process.
Can be a very frustrating process because they're usually unrealistic in pricing. They're usually unrealistic in response times.
And they don't like to negotiate.
They don't like to negotiate, and oftentimes there's heavy competition because it's a foreclosure.
Mm-hmm.
Too much HGTV out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not always a great deal.
No.
Oftentimes it's not even a good deal at all. But we'll let you know if it is.
Then you go back down to short sales.
Ooh.
Short sales.
Short sales are their own beast, but our team got its start in short sales.
Yeah,
I've done a few hundred of them myself. Not personally, but our negotiating with the bank. So that's when a owner owns a property and they owe more on it than
what the value is.
Than what it's worth. So that's where the short is. The short is not in the time frame.
Yeah.
Right? Those deals tend to take a little while to get the bank to accept the short payoff. And the major problem is a lot of real estate agents are not qualified to even process these transactions. They don't know what the banks are looking for. They don't know how to negotiate with the bank. And you can end up spending 6 months in escrow on a property and it go to foreclosure anyway. Yeah, so we have an interview process with those listing agents to really make sure that it's actually could get to the closing table, right? Even though we don't have closing tables here in California, but you know, this one's really important because we're going to see a lot of this.
We always see these new builds.
The new builds.
New builds.
And for a while, there was absolutely no new builds, right? But they're coming.
They are coming.
They're starting to come. There's a couple of neighborhoods in Templeton. We're starting to see them in Tascadero. San Luis is getting
a lot of
1,600 new homes over the next 5 years. It's
roughly, that's the plan.
That's a lot of new homes. So new homes are great. We really like new homes. They're going to help our inventory problem. New homes will always sell. But the issue that there is with new homes is they're sales representatives. Nice people, but who do they work for?
They work for the builder.
They work for the builder.
So it's one of the things. You walk in, they have you sign a waiver, and once you sign that waiver, well, it kind of pretty much just waives us. It says, no, you're going to work with our representative. You're not going to get, you may get good help. They're nice people, like we said, but you won't get that professional, high standards what we like to keep ourselves at.
That sales rep that works for the builder is all about the builder's bottom line. They're going to push you into a new home that may not look like the model you just saw, and they're going to try and sell you as many upgrades as they can, and they're not representing you as a fiduciary. There's that word again.
Fiduciary.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you see new homes, that doesn't mean we can't help you out with that. So if you see a new home neighborhood, invite us along to that first trip, and we can still represent you on a new home.
But just make sure we're with you so we can represent you to the fullest with the fiduciary duty.
And we're not saying that so that we stay in the deal. We're saying that because we want to protect you from the home builder. Make them sound predatory. They're not really that predatory.
No, they're good people.
But they're running a business. They're selling a lot of homes. Yeah.
At the end of the day, the bottom line is what they care about, not really what the client's looking at.
Exactly.
So
they just want to sell you a home. Okay. And there are good home builders, and there are home builders that you may have an issue with quality, right? And I've been doing this long enough. I kind of have a good idea who's building the quality and who's running them together, right? So what else? What's next?
Viewing the properties.
That's super fun.
I think we kind of touched a little base about it, but we can go a little bit more in depth on that.
Okay. So when we go out and look at a property, we're looking at different stuff than they are, huh?
I know.
Yeah. Yeah, they're looking at where they're putting their Christmas tree. What are you looking at?
I'm looking at what the numbers are, where it's at, what the location is, trying to find you the location that you're looking for, finding out your needs and wants in the property.
Yeah, and I'm trying to find out, okay, if they really, really like this property, how can this go wrong, right? I got my crystal ball out, and I'm going to try and set them in the position to win, right? I'm going to take a look at the house and go, okay, what could be potential pitfalls? What could be negotiating points? What could be great things that we need to make sure are inside that transaction? And you guys figure out where you're going to put your Christmas tree and who's getting what room and whether you actually like the house. But our job is to make sure that we represent you and make sure that that deal actually goes through.
And when we say go through, the smoothest as possible.
Oh, smooth.
We want smooth communication. Make sure everything's on the table so you're not unclear of anything.
Expectations are really important. Really important. So, and I ask every single time, is this the house you want to buy? Every single time.
Absolutely.
Every single time. Right? If the wife puts her purse down on the counter and walks away, that's a winner.
That's a winner.
That's a little insider's tip, right? Yeah. If the wife is willing to leave her purse and walk away from it, she feels comfortable in the house. Right?
I agree. So,
and if they sit on the couch, they like the house. Right? Yeah.
Can be true.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Now what?
We're done.
That's it? That's the whole process?
The whole process.
All right. Well, I think there's... Okay. I think this is kind of an important page. Right? Interview questions for your realtor.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Please.
so this is the last page. This is page 14 in our buyer's guide. We hope that you think we're a couple of cool dudes and you want to have that conversation with us, but I'm okay with you having it with anybody else. Right? But here's some questions that you might want to ask them. Right?
Sure.
Are you full-time or are you part-time?
We hear it time and time again.
Right?
It's always...
Are you full-time or are you part-time? Do you sell Pampered Chef? I shouldn't do that because that, like, Pampered Chef is really good stuff.
I like those.
But if that's your main business and you sell real estate as a hobby, or I don't know. I feel that there's so much involved with representing buyers and sellers that it's really, really difficult to do this part-time, to do it right. Yeah, you could get a couple sales in it, but you could end up dropping a ball.
And I'll just say from personal experience, I don't want a part-time dealing with one of the biggest purchases in my life possible.
Yeah.
I don't want
agree.
a part-timer. I want a full-time that knows everything about it.
I want someone who does this.
Yes, this.
Right? That I am not a hobby. And I hope you guys would agree. So ask the agent that you talk to, are you full-time or are you part-time?
That's a huge question. That's a huge indicator of what type of agent you might be getting.
So I like this one, and I want to open up a conversation about this because obviously we work on a team.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So is the agent you're going to work with a single agent or an agent on a team? There's pros and cons to both ways. And I think that single agents, have a whole bunch of negative things to say about agents on a team. And I bet agents on a team can say negative things about a single agent, right?
I agree.
But there's pros and cons to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I work on a team because I like working with you because you're really cool.
Well, it's not just us.
It's not just us.
It's the support that we get through the team.
support, the transaction team, the whole bit really benefits you as a client because when one agent's trying to juggle the balls all at the same time, we're human, right? Agents on a team usually work in their specialty and their strength zone. So you get the best of both worlds. You get people who are only doing the things that they're great at and that they love.
Yeah, I agree.
Versus an agent trying to do a whole bunch of things that they may not like or may not know about and may not have time to handle all of them properly. So I'm pro team, obviously.
I'm pro team as well.
I'm pro team. And there may be reasons to work with a single agent. But you definitely want to ask that and know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Ooh, this is a good one right here. Right ahead. Besides the MLS, how else do you find homes?
Yeah, that's a big one.
How else do you find homes to work with?
Well, I mean, other than finding what's on the MLS, I mean, there's other ways we can go about it.
We can talk to people.
We can door knock certain areas.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're interested in a particular neighborhood, it's nothing out of our realm to go out and door knock to see if we can find extra sellers that may have not have thought about selling, but if you're looking to move in, they might consider it.
I also like to pull all the phone numbers in a particular neighborhood. I love it when buyers know I want to be in this neighborhood because I'll pull every phone number of every homeowner in that neighborhood and I'll call them until I get a hold of every single one of them and figure out if there's a potential sale there when it doesn't hit the market. Because those are so much more relaxed. You're not competing. But there should be other ways than to just wait for a property to come up in the MLS. That seems very passive. And in a very fast-paced market, I don't think that'll put a home buyer in an advantage.
No.
Right? So your agent should have other methods that they use to go find properties that might not be in the MLS. Okay? How many homes are sold? That's kind of we already talked about that.
Yeah.
Education, availability. We should talk about this. Availability to show homes, because this is one of the reasons I really like working on a team, because you've shown homes to my clients before.
Absolutely. You've shown homes to my clients.
Yes. You know, whether maybe we have a family commitment or we have other showings scheduled at that time, it's really important that we have access to the homes faster than later, right? If I blow you off as a client till next week to show the home could be gone. But what's cool is when you are on a team and you have other agents who can kind of help fill in a pinch, the availability to show homes on your schedule and on the schedule of the market, I feel is really, really important.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
I would agree. I would agree. It just gives you more time, gives us more time and availability for
And
you.
you have really cool clients. I like your clients. I have a lot of fun with them.
I like your clients too, though.
Yeah, we only hang out with cool people, right? Ooh, this is a good one right here.
Which one we got?
Right here, vendors.
Vendors.
Vendor list. Our vendor list is awesome.
We can kind of shoot you to any directions, whether it's a plumber,
home inspectors,
title company,
even if they're not real estate related.
Yeah,
I can hook you up with the best guitar instructor in the North County.
You want to get in shape? We can connect you.
We can connect you. So it's really important to have those connections inside the community, inside real estate, outside of real estate. It helps when we've developed over the years the relationships with these vendors when we need a favor. Yeah, sometimes the transaction's heading south and we need to call in a favor from a vendor and we get it done. I think that's really important.
I think that's huge.
Yeah. So what I mean that kind of covers it.
I
think I don't want to bore these people. They've been sitting through this video for a little while. If you guys have questions, don't hesitate to reach out.
Please
call, text, FaceTime,
email.
People still use email, don't they?
People do, yeah.
Yeah, Facebook Messenger, Snapchat, all that good stuff. Instagramming. Yeah. So
all of it.
No dumb questions. Reach out to us.
I hope you guys learned, a little something from this video, and until next time.
I'm Mike. This is Brian.
Brian.
Group 4610. EXP Realty.
We're out.
Anything else?
I don't think so.
I've seen YouTubers do this thing where they clap the camera and it cuts. I don't know how to do that.